Tupac's legal issues often get overshadowed by the mysteries surrounding his death. But let's rewind to February 8, 1995, the day that Tupac was sentenced to 18 months to 4.5 years in prison for sexual abuse. It was after a jaw-dropping trial, not just for the verdict, but for the dramatic events surrounding it. But the real bombshell came after the judge dropped the gavel on his sentence. Tupac didn't just sit there. Oh no, he had some choice words for everyone: the victim, the prosecutor, the judge. I am talking words that left the courtroom with teary eyes. What exactly did he say to evoke such reaction? Find out all the details in this video. Tupac's reaction to prison sentence. On November 18, 1993, Tupac Shakur was arrested and charged with sexual abuse, sodomy, and illegal possession of a firearm. The incident in question occurred in a hotel room in New York and involved a female fan, Ayanna Jackson, who was 19 years old at the time. Let's look at the detailed account of the events and their aftermath. On November 18, 1993, Tupac Shakur met Ayanna Jackson at Nell's, a nightclub in Manhattan. They allegedly performed oral sex on each other at the club and then went back to his hotel, where they had consensual sex. 4 days later, on November 22nd, Jackson went back to Tupac's hotel suite, where she claimed she was forced into sexual acts while being held down. According to Jackson, Tupac grabbed her by the hair, tore her clothes off, and facilitated the assault by his friends. Tupac denied these allegations, stating that he was not in the room when other men entered and was unaware of what transpired. Jackson talked to the hotel security, and Tupac, along with his manager, Charles Man Fuller, and another associate, were arrested. Tupac and Fuller were accused of serious crimes, including sodomy, first-degree sexual abuse, and having guns illegally. The third charge was due to 2 guns that were found in the hotel room where Pac and his associates were staying. The trial began the following November, almost a year after the alleged incident. Justice Daniel P. Fitzgerald presided over the trial, which was held in New York. Michael Warren was the chief defense lawyer, while Francine James, the assistant district attorney at the time, was the chief prosecutor. The trial was highly publicized and expected to be a dramatic courtroom battle. At one point, 2 jurors were removed due to their vocal disgust with the defendant and his music. The accuser, Ayanna Jackson, took the stand and recounted her version of events, testifying that Tupac forced her to perform oral sex on him and his friends. During cross-examination, the defense lawyer, Michael Warren, insinuated that the encounter was consensual and that jealousy was the motive for the accusation. The defense called only one witness, Tupac's publicist, Taliba Mbonisi, who testified that she heard nothing unusual from the hotel room. During the trial, Tupac was shot 5 times by gunmen outside a recording studio. He returned to the courtroom in a wheelchair with bandages on his head. The jury deliberated for an extended period due to differing opinions among jurors. In the end, they found Tupac and Fuller guilty of sexual abuse but acquitted them of sodomy and illegal possession of firearms. The sentencing took place on February 8, 1995, and Tupac was sentenced to 18 months to 4.5 years in prison. Fuller received a lighter sentence of 4 months in jail and 5 years probation. The reason for the differences in their sentences lies in Tupac's long legal history. On October 17, 1991, in downtown Oakland, California, Tupac was stopped by police officers for jaywalking and asked for his ID. The officers described Tupac as hostile and angry in their report. Tupac questioned why 2 officers were needed to stop him for such a minor offense, given the high crime rate in the area. The situation escalated and Tupac cursed at the officers. They then put him in a chokehold, knocked him to the ground, and arrested him. Tupac sued the Oakland Police Department for $10 million, claiming they beat him up for jaywalking. He settled the case for about $43,000, but most of that money went to his lawyer. On February 24, 1993, the parents of Quiet Walker Teal sued Tupac Shakur, his brother Mopreme, Marin City, and others for wrongful death. Quaid had been killed in Marin City in 1992 by a bullet from Tupac's .38 caliber Colt handgun. The lawsuit was settled on November 7, 1995, with Tupac agreeing to pay the boy's parents between $300,000 and $500,000. Tupac's lawyer, Dennis Cunningham, claimed the gunshots were fired above the crowd's heads in response to an attack. On October 31, 1993, Tupac was in Atlanta, Georgia, for a show at Clark Atlanta University. After the performance, he saw 2 white off-duty police officers, brothers Mark and Scott Whitwell, harassing and beating up a black motorcyclist on the road. When one of the officers pulled out a gun, Tupac shot in self-defense. He was arrested the next morning and charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault, but the charges were later dropped because investigators found his claim of self-defense believable. On April 4, 1995, Tupac was sued by Mark Whitwell, one of the off-duty police officers involved in the 1993 Atlanta shooting incident. A few months later, on July 12, 1995, Mark's brother, Officer Scott Whitwell, also filed a lawsuit against Tupac. Scott sought compensation for his injuries, medical bills, lost wages, and pain and suffering. Those are the legal issues Tupac faced in his lifetime. Now, let's continue with the sexual abuse charges that landed him in jail. Tupac's reaction during the sentencing hearing was a mix of emotions, reflections, and a critique of the justice system. He addressed his victim, Ayanna Jackson, with tears in his eyes. He apologized but maintained his innocence, stating, "I'm not apologizing for a crime. I hope in time you'll come forth and tell the truth. I am innocent." He also expressed his dissatisfaction with the judge's lack of eye contact during the trial, stating, "You never looked me or my attorney in the eye. It's obvious you're not here in the search for justice." In an unexpected shift, Tupac also turned his attention to the youth of America, expressing his regret for getting too caught up in his career. He stated, "I got so involved in my career that I didn't see this coming. I have no shame. I don't feel shame." This statement resonated with his fans in attendance, and a young woman even leaned over the railing to kiss him on the cheek. Despite his criticism of the justice system, Tupac ultimately placed his faith in God, stating, "I put my faith in God. Once again, I have no shame. What happens happens for a reason. I leave this in the hands of God." Tupac's words carried weight, especially given his history of arrests and the violent attack he suffered during the trial. He acknowledged his past, saying, "I've been shot 5 times and he's brought me this far." His statements during the sentencing evoked mixed reactions. While his fans in attendance responded positively, especially to his address to the youth, the courtroom atmosphere was tense, and his words left many with watery eyes. In February 1995, Tupac began serving his sentence at the Clinton Correctional Facility. At one point, Tupac was placed in solitary confinement after being caught hiding marijuana in his cell. He was branded a riot risk and was deemed a potential target for extortion. Tupac was also placed in solitary confinement for spewing profanities at correction officers and getting into prison yard scuffles after being hassled for autographs. Reverend Al Sharpton, a civil rights activist, confirmed that he negotiated with the warden to get him out of solitary confinement. While incarcerated, Tupac continued his passion for reading and writing. He spent time reading works such as Niccolo Machiavelli's The Prince and Sun Tzu's The Art of War, which sparked his interest in philosophy, the philosophy of war, and military strategy. Tupac also exchanged letters with celebrities such as Jim Carrey and Tony Danza. He wrote a screenplay titled Live to Tell and continued to work on his music, releasing his multi-platinum album, Me Against the World. His love for reading and writing started at a young age. As a punishment, his mother would make him read the New York Times from cover to cover. He also had a relationship with Layla Steinberg, with whom he explored various books including Roots and The Phenomenon of Man. Tupac also got married to Keisha Morris during this sentence. Keisha is an author and educator. She gained public attention when she started dating Tupac. They first met in 1994 when she was 20 years old and a college student. They met at a nightclub, spoke briefly, and exchanged numbers. They reconnected a month later, and their relationship blossomed from there. Keisha stood by Tupac's side during his sexual assault trial and conviction, even visiting him regularly in prison. On April 29, 1995, Keisha and Tupac married at the Clinton Correctional Facility, where he was serving time. Their marriage, however, was short-lived. The couple divorced and annulled their marriage in March 1996, shortly after Tupac's release from prison. Keisha cited the stress of being married to Tupac and feeling unwanted after his release as reasons for their split. Despite the divorce, they remained friends. After Tupac's death, Keisha kept a low profile, giving only a few interviews about her relationship with him. She graduated from John Jay College with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. She has since worked to address racial inequality and social injustice issues, particularly in the criminal justice system. She has co-written books such as For Beautiful Black, Boys Who Believe in a Better World, and When My Cousins Come to Town. She has also pursued a career in acting, landing a minor role in the 2005 comedy film The Bag Man. Keisha Morris currently resides in New York City and has devoted her life to honoring Tupac's memory and addressing racial inequality. She is a mother of 2 children from a different relationship and has chosen to keep her life private, making only rare public appearances. Since Tupac's prison time, several other artists have been convicted of sex-related offenses. Let's look at some of them. In February 2017, Kodak Black allegedly sexually assaulted a young woman in Florence, South Carolina. The woman reported that she accompanied him to his hotel room after his performance at the nightclub Treasure City. She stated that he ripped off her clothes, bit her, and raped her. In April 2021, Kodak Black appeared in court to face charges of rape and sexual assault stemming from this incident. He entered a plea deal, pleading guilty to a lesser charge of first-degree assault and battery. He was sentenced to a 10-year suspended sentence and 18 months of probation, with the condition that he takes full accountability, undergo counseling, and publicly apologize to the victim. Kodak Black's attorney, Beatty Ashmore, stated that he entered the plea deal to resolve the matter as he had consistently denied the allegation. The victim in the case agreed to the plea deal, and Kodak apologized in court, expressing his hope that they could all move forward. Chris Brown is another artist who has a long list of allegations allegations relating to sexual violence. His most infamous case involving sexual offenses was the 2009 assault of his then-girlfriend, Rihanna. On February 8, 2009, Brown physically assaulted Rihanna, leaving her with visible facial injuries that required hospitalization. Brown was charged with felony assault and making criminal threats. He pleaded guilty to felony assault and accepted a plea deal that included community labor, probation, and domestic violence counseling. Since then, Brown has faced other accusations and lawsuits. In 2017, a woman claimed that she was held down and sexually assaulted by Brown and two others at his home during a party. In 2019, Brown was arrested in Paris, France, on allegations of aggravated rape and drug violations. The charges were later dropped, and Brown sued his accuser for defamation. In 2021, he was accused of slapping a woman at his home in San Fernando Valley. No arrests were made, and the matter is still under investigation. In January 2022, a woman identified as Jane Doe filed a $20 million lawsuit against him, alleging that he drugged and raped her on a yacht in Miami in December 2020. Just like Chris Brown, Dr. Dre has a long list of similar charges. He has been accused of multiple instances of violence and abuse against women, including sexual assault. While he has not been convicted of sexual offenses, there is a significant history of accusations and legal proceedings related to his treatment of women. In 1991, he assaulted TV host and media personality Dee Barnes at a Def Jam Records party. Barnes stated that Dre slammed her face and the right side of her body repeatedly against a wall near a stairway. Barnes brought a $22 million lawsuit against Dr. Dre, which was settled out of court. He paid a little over $2,000 in fines and served community service. In 2019, Barnes appeared on The Wendy Williams Show and implied that Dre may have also sexually assaulted her during the 1991 incident. When asked directly, Barnes became teary-eyed and said she was not comfortable talking about it.
He continued to assault me in the women's restroom.
Beating you up?
Mm-hmm.
Were you sexually assaulted?
I'm not comfortable talking about everything right now.
Around the same time as the Barnes incident, Dr. Dre was dating and later engaged to singer Michelle, with whom he has a child. Michelle has accused Dre of physical abuse, including giving her black eyes and a cracked rib. She also claimed that he pulled a gun on her during an argument and shot at her, missing her by inches. Michelle's biopic spotlighted the abuse that Dre has acknowledged. Dr. Dre's estranged wife, Nicole Young, filed for divorce and also detailed instances of alleged abuse in court documents. Young alleged that Dre held a gun to her head twice, in 2000 and 2001, punched her in 1999 and 2000, and kicked down a door while she hid from him in 2016. Young portrayed Dre's denials of abuse as lies, claiming that he verbally and mentally destroyed her personality to the point that she now suffers from PTSD. Young also cited Dre's continuous campaign of abuse and control throughout their marriage. In 2015, Dr. Dre issued a statement apologizing for his past behavior, specifically mentioning his abuse of alcohol and lack of structure in his younger years. He also apologized to the women he hurt and expressed regret for his actions. Despite this apology, Dre has continued to receive criticism and backlash for his alleged abusive behavior, particularly in the context of his success and accolades in the music industry. Now let's circle back to Tupac. He was in jail for just 9 months before Death Row Records CEO Marion Suge Knight bailed him out for $1.4 million. But getting out of jail didn't mean things were looking up for Tupac. The case and everything that followed really messed up his life and career, which sadly ended in his death in 1996. The case of Tupac's murder. In the early hours of November 30th, 1994, Tupac Shakur got shot 5 times during a robbery at Quad Studios in New York City. This event marked a turning point for Tupac and set the stage for future tragedies. He was in the elevator at Quad Studios in Times Square when it happened. In an interview with Vibe magazine in April 1995, Tupac described the terrifying ordeal. He said he dropped to the floor and pretended to be dead, but they still attacked him. He had to stay silent throughout the ordeal. The shooting hurt Tupac physically and emotionally and sparked rumors about who was behind it. He suggested that P. Diddy and Biggie might have known about the attack. This incident changed Tupac's life and made him more paranoid. It also made the rivalry between East Coast and West Coast rap scenes more intense. On September 7, 1996, Tupac was involved in another serious situation. He, along with Death Row Records CEO Suge Knight, his fiancée Kidada Jones, and their group, went to Las Vegas for a boxing match between Mike Tyson and Bruce Seldon. The atmosphere was electric as Tupac and Suge Knight sat in the front row at the MGM Grand Garden Arena, looking forward to the boxing match. But things turned chaotic when the match ended quickly, with Iron Mike winning in under 2 minutes. After the fight, there was tension between Tupac's group and a rival gang, the Southside Compton Crips. A fight broke out in the hotel and casino area, which was caught on surveillance cameras. Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, who was Keith D's nephew, was involved. The fight was a result of an ongoing feud between Suge Knight's gang, Mob Peru, and the Compton Compton Crips. Tupac and his friends were seen attacking Anderson near some elevators. After the fight, Tupac, Suge, and their group left the area. But the night wasn't over yet. Later on, they went to Club 662, a nightclub owned by Suge. This set the stage for the tragic events to come. Meanwhile, Keith D, wanting revenge for the earlier beat-up of his nephew, Orlando Anderson, got a gun from his home. He later became one of the 2 living witnesses to Tupac's murder and was determined to settle the score. Around 11 p.m., Tupac and Suge were driving near the Las Vegas Strip when police pulled them over for loud music and a license plate issue. Though they were let go without a ticket after fixing the plate, this encounter would be crucial in the events of the night. Shortly after, while Tupac and Suge's black BMW paused at a red light on Flamingo Road and Koval Lane, a white Cadillac approached quietly beside them. Suddenly, someone from the back window of the Cadillac fired multiple bullets at Tupac and Suge. The shooter aimed directly at Tupac, firing many bullets. 4 bullets hit Tupac, with 2 hitting his chest. Suge was fortunate to only sustain a minor injury from a bullet fragment. The Cadillac sped off, leaving Tupac badly hurt. Police and paramedics arrived around 11:20 p.m. and rushed Tupac to the hospital. Despite many surgeries and fighting for his life in intensive care, Tupac didn't make it. He passed away on September 13, 1996, from a heart attack. His legacy lives on, but questions remain about who killed him. As fans grieved, there were still no clear answers about Tupac's death. The investigation seemed stuck, leaving many feeling frustrated and wanting closure. There were many rumors and theories about who was responsible. People blamed rival gangs, East Coast, West Coast rap feuds, and even famous music industry figures. Biggie's name often came up in connection to Tupac's murder. Sadly, Biggie himself was killed in Los Angeles on March 9, 1997. Many believe Tupac and Biggie's deaths were connected, possibly as revenge. Despite lots of talk, the cases stayed unsolved. However, in 2002, there was some hope. The Las Vegas police decided to reopen Tupac's case because of new leads and better forensic technology. Detectives were determined to give Tupac's family, friends, and fans the closure they've been waiting for over 5 years. They reviewed old evidence, talked to witnesses again, and looked for new leads. They were determined to find out what really happened to Tupac and bring those responsible to justice. However, the detectives faced challenges. Time had made some witnesses forget or not want to help. Some had even died, taking important information with them. As years went by, the search for answers didn't stop. The investigation made a big breakthrough on July 17, 2023, when the Las Vegas police got a warrant to search Keith D's home in Henderson, Nevada. The raid was conducted by SWAT teams and involved multiple police vehicles and officers. Investigators seized computers, tablets, an iPhone, USB and hard drives, photographs, marijuana, a Vibe magazine featuring Tupac, and a book co-written by Keith D. The search warrant focused on Keith D, who claimed to have witnessed Tupac's murder and said his nephew, Orlando Anderson, was the shooter. Investigators were looking for photographs, documents, diaries, and other items that might provide evidence of motive. Although the raid led to speculation about new developments in the case, authorities did not confirm the specific reasons for the raid. Neighbors saw a man and a woman leaving the house with their hands up, following police orders. It is unknown if any direct evidence linking Keith D to Tupac's murder was found. On September 29, 2023, 2 months after the raid, he was arrested in connection with the murder. He was 60 years old at the time of his arrest. He was charged with 1 count of murder with the use of a deadly weapon and with the intent to promote, further, or assist a criminal gang. The case against him is built on his own admissions and his role as the shot caller of the Southside Compton Crips gang. He is the last living person among the 4 individuals who were in the vehicle from which shots were fired. Keith D grew up in Watts, California, but his family moved to Compton, a mostly middle-class black neighborhood. In his memoir, he explains that this move happened after his father and uncle won $50,000 betting on horse races in Tijuana, Mexico, which is nearly $1 million today. With this money, they bought a house in Compton and 2 new cars. When they moved to Compton in 1965, they were the only black family in the neighborhood, but over time, white families began moving out one by one. It was around this time that Compton started to become a neighborhood for black families. Keith D was one of 12 siblings and grew up in a large family. He lost his mother to colon cancer at 15 and battled the same cancer himself in 2014, but is now in remission. He also lost 2 brothers, one to cancer and the other to gun violence in Compton. In the 70s, peer pressure led him to join the Crips gang. He wasn't interested in college and was drawn to the quick money of the illegal drug trade. From 1985 to 1989, he served time in prison, where he says he became an even more dangerous gangster instead of reforming. If you remember, I said earlier that the person who made the arrest possible was Keith D himself. This is because he spent the better part of the last decade talking himself into trouble. In 2008, Keith D struck a deal with the Los Angeles police to get immunity from charges in a PCP drug case. In return, he provided information about Tupac's murder, revealing that his nephew, Orlando Anderson, was the one who shot Tupac. Keith D made even more startling claims by accusing Sean Diddy Combs of being involved in the murder plot.
The $1 million question. On all four of those occasions, there's San Diego, Anaheim, Irvine, and Vegas. Which ones do you actually talk to Puffy at?
Every one.
Every one of them. Which of those four is it when you talk to him about murdering Tupac?
It was really about both of them, yeah.
Keith D stated that Diddy ordered the hit to eliminate Tupac and Suge Knight due to a long-standing feud.
What did you actually hear? What was the words, if the best you can remember what he says?
Shit, he said he'd give us anything for them dudes there, you know? Yeah.
He'll give you anything for these guys' head?
Yeah, he said it in front of all those people. I couldn't believe it. You know what I'm saying?
In Anaheim?
Yeah. Whole room full of Crips.
Initially, Diddy wanted only Suge dead, but after Tupac released Hit 'Em Up, a diss track targeting both Diddy and Biggie, Diddy also turned his anger towards Tupac. Keith D claimed that he discussed the hit with Diddy at Greenblatt's Deli, asking for $1 million to murder both Tupac and Suge. It now appears that Diddy has been intentionally avoiding Keith D ever since this incident. In one video, Keith D talks to Art of Dialogue about his relationship with Diddy, expressing disappointment in how Diddy treats him compared to others. He mentions hearing that Diddy gives expensive gifts like clothes, cars, and business shares to other associates, but not to him.
I heard one of my homies from 30s, I heard he get every quarter he gets clothes, all the then you gave this other dude some a brand new Benzo or Maybach, another piece of the record company.
He also said he regrets getting involved with Diddy, stating his life was great until he met Diddy, but things have gone downhill since then.
God damn, homie. I was on top of the world till I met your dude. Wrong, dude.
Keith D expected Diddy to acknowledge or help him due to their past connections. He feels hurt and disappointed because Diddy didn't offer any support.
Come on, homie. I need something. Throw a dog a bone or something. Sit up there talking about you, Daddy Love. Show us some love. Mr. Love, I be watching you, dude. Damn, you ain't said shit. Keep your heel, nothing.
In 2018, the BET series Death Row Chronicles provided new insights into Tupac's murder. It features Keith D, who openly discussed his involvement. He shared previously unknown details about that night. He said he was in the front passenger seat of the Cadillac, with Terrence Brown driving and Orlando Anderson and DeAndre Smith in the back. They initially planned to wait for Tupac to perform at Club 662, owned by Suge Knight, but left before Tupac arrived. As they were driving away, fate stepped in. Some girls on the street called out Tupac's name, prompting him to stick his head out of the car window. Keith D explained that this brief moment changed everything. The Cadillac made a U-turn and ended up at a stoplight right next to Tupac's car. Keith D vividly remembered, "When we pulled up, I was in the front seat. Happened to see my friend Suge. It was a surreal moment, with Keith D and his crew just feet away from their targets." The revelations in Death Row Chronicles shocked the public, particularly due to Keith D's discussion of his involvement in the shooting. His openness provided a rare and chilling insight into the mind of someone at the center of one of hip-hop's most notorious crimes. The series gave Keith D a platform to share his story, which he did with a mix of remorse and detachment. He explained that his decision to speak out was motivated by his battle with cancer and his desire for the truth to be known, as he felt he had nothing left to lose. Keith D's participation in the series reignited public interest in the case, leading the Las Vegas police to review the evidence. In 2019, Keith D released his memoir, Compton Street Legend, co-written with Yusuf Job. The book gives more details about Tupac's murder and Keith D's alleged role in it. Keith D elaborates on what he had previously told the police and shared in interviews, providing a clearer picture of that night's events. Keith D explains that the Crips had a specific reason for targeting Tupac. Just hours before the shooting, a member of their gang was attacked by associates of Death Row, supposedly as payback for stealing a Death Row chain. According to Keith D, this attack fueled their desire for revenge. He wrote, "When conversations would come up about $1 million bounty on the heads of Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur, that was business. But after Tupac, Suge, and them Death Row niggas jumped on my nephew Baby Lane, the shit became ominously personal." In his memoir, Keith D showed little regret about the incident, calling the shooting just another routine event and referring to Tupac's death as collateral damage. He wrote, "Tupac chose the wrong game to play and the wrong nigga to play with." After releasing his memoir, Keith D was interviewed by DJ Vlad on Vlad TV to discuss Tupac's murder. The interview allowed Keith D to share his perspective and expand on details from his book. During the interview, DJ Vlad pushed Keith D for more information about the shooting, hoping to uncover new details. However, Keith D was cautious and avoided revealing revealing too much, likely to encourage people to buy his memoir. When asked who in the car shot Tupac, Keith D was evasive. Now we can see that Keith D repeatedly said things that made it easy for the authorities to arrest and charge him. He was arraigned in Clark County District Court in Las Vegas on November 2nd, 2023, and pleaded not guilty. His lawyers filed a motion requesting he be released while awaiting trial. On May 20th, 2024, Keith D appeared in court to request to be released to house arrest ahead of the trial. He was granted bail, which was set at $750,000 by Clark County District Court Judge Carly Kearney. However, despite being granted bail and house arrest, he remains incarcerated at the Clark County Detention Center as he has not been able to pay the amount. His trial is now scheduled to begin on November 4th, 2024. If you enjoyed this video, click on the card showing on your screen right now for more videos.